Happy Generation Texas Week, CFB. I'm Melanie Williams, your CCMR coordinator, and I'm pleased to introduce our Generation Texas speaker. The CCMR department, since we've known her, has been so incredibly impressed with her, and we became even more impressed when we learned how much she's accomplished at such a young age. Students in the CCMR team have prepared questions for Ms. Garcia, so you will see questions and answers in an interview-style format now. Welcome, Ms. Garcia.
Hi, my name is Karla Garcia. I am from Pleasant Grove, Southeast Dallas, Texas. I am the proud daughter of Mexican immigrants from Guanajuato, Mexico, and I'm also the first in my family to have gone to college. And my job is now with the Dallas County Promise, working with high school students just like you, supporting you in your post-secondary plans. And I recently also became elected as a Dallas ISD trustee, and that's a whole other story that I'm happy to share more about.
How did you decide what you wanted to do after high school?
Okay. So there is nothing that I'm doing today that I wrote down in a journal even 5 years ago, 3 years ago. And I think that's the exciting piece about what a college education can do for you. I am the first in my family to graduate from high school. Both of my parents have a first grade education and a sixth grade education from rural Mexico. And they came to this country with the hope that an education would allow me opportunities that they'd never even thought of before. And thankfully, that has been the case even just a few years, graduated from high school. I'm in the class of 2014. And while in high school, I knew that I wanted to do something with myself that would be able to take care of me and my family. And at my high school, I graduated from Irma Rangel in Women's Leadership School in Dallas ISD. It's an all-girls magnet school. The focus was always very much on what are you going to do after high school? And the question wasn't, are you going to go to college, but where are you going to go to college? And I think that's something that I'm very excited to see here with your schools, that you're also asking those same questions and that you are positioned to be able to make a best fit decision for yourself. But I didn't know much about college. Nobody in my family has gone to college. I don't have any aunts or uncles, cousins here in the United States, and so I relied a lot on my college band advisor. Her name is Ann Morano, and she really was the angel that I needed to guide me in the decisions that I wanted to make. At 10th grade, I think I was very set on engineering, and that's what I really like to do. That's what I thought I could see myself doing for the rest of my life. And then very quickly things started to shift where I became very engaged in sort of local politics, local government, because at the time I had had some of my very own family members deported, and I was asking a lot of questions around why did this happen, who allowed this to happen, why are our laws and our policies set up in such a way. And then eventually by high school senior year, I knew that I wanted to do something, a career that would allow me to have sort of less large-scale impact, and I was considering the list of colleges in front of me, and my advisor said to me, Mija, I don't think you're thinking big enough. I think you're limiting yourself at the time to only the military, because quite frankly in my family I knew we didn't make enough to pay for a year of college. So I thought that if I could get the military to pay for it, then that would be better. But she gave me a list of schools, and of those 10 schools, none of them were schools that I'd ever heard of or even considered going to. Thankfully, I applied to one of them, and that was Carolina, and Carolina supported me with my financial aid because I filled out the FAFSA on time, and I did other requirements that they needed of me. And everything put together, pieced together, and I ultimately made the decision to go to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill as a first-generation student. And that was difficult, but it was necessary, and now I have a career and I'm working in this field, and I'm very thankful that I took those steps, very bold steps.
What advice do you have for students making college decisions or post-secondary decisions?
I think one of the biggest struggles as a first-generation student is that you literally don't know who to turn to. You don't know if you're taking the right step, you're taking the wrong step, and it's very easy to get desanimado, to feel down when you feel very excited about something but don't know who to ask for help or how to ask for help. So I guess my very first recommendation to you would be seek help. If you need help and you're stuck, Don't let your pride get the best of you. Don't be shy. The worst you will hear is a no, and even at that point, there are so many supportive people here in your school district and in your schools that I know are here to support you, but you've got to let them know. So ask for help. Like I mentioned, I didn't know necessarily what college I wanted to go to. I didn't grow up watching football games for a specific school or supporting a specific college. Those conversations weren't even in my family, but I knew that I wanted to bring them to the family. When it comes to financial aid, I know it's really scary to talk about sharing personal information from your family, to fill out forms. You don't know who they're going to, what they're going to do with them. But these things and processes are necessary for you to know if you can afford to go, what college you can afford to go to, the support that may be out there, the resources. And I also applied for a lot of scholarships because I come from a low-income family, and I knew that I didn't want to place the burden of debt on both myself or my family. So I went for as many opportunities to find scholarships or other financial aid resources as I could. And thankfully, at the University of North Carolina, my financial aid that came from my FAFSA, plus financial aid that came from my school, and third-party scholarships that I'd applied to, like at a local church, a local community service organization, all came together, and I was able to afford going to a school whose annual cost of attendance was like way higher than what my family ever makes in a year. So it is possible to find options like that for yourself. You just have to work hard and ask for help when you need them.
How did those experiences connect to what you do now?
When I graduated from college with a degree in public policy and entrepreneurship, I had interned with Commit Partnerships my sophomore year in college, working precisely on college access and success work for students locally here in DFW. By the time that I graduated college, that had become this now full-scale initiative that is called the Dallas County Promise. And when I was told that I could come back home with my degree, with my education, and have impact not just for my community of Pleasant Grove and Southeast Dallas, but a lot more students across DFW, I immediately took it, and that's what I do now. My job is literally to help students, and I really enjoy that. And it puts really good use to my education because the issues that you face as a student go beyond just your campus. There's a lot that happens at the state level, at the local level. So it all has to work together to make a better experience for you. And that's ultimately why I'm here.
What educational obstacles have you faced and how did you overcome them?
Okay. That's a good one. With being a first-generation student, I had mentioned, not having access or not knowing about this experience beforehand can be very scary. Even when you're in college, there are other things that you have to take care of, like keeping your grades up for your scholarships, making sure that you're taking the hours and the courses that you need to stay on track with your degree plan. And that was hard for me because asking for help and needing guidance didn't stop when I graduated from high school. It actually continued when I was in college. And I was very fortunate that by the time I got to college, I knew that if I was ever stuck, I just needed to ask for help. And my university provided that help through advising and counseling services, which is what every university has as well. And I took advantage of those resources frequently. I was there frequently because I didn't know what to do. Sometimes if I struggled with the class or if I needed support with figuring out other opportunities for me, like study abroad, I needed help to be able to take advantage of those. And thankfully, through those conversations with my advisors and counselors, I was able to study abroad in London for a semester and work with a social investment firm. I interned at the Department of Education in Washington, D.C. for a semester right before I graduated. And all of those things put together are what I'm looking at now for students like you. What are things that are you still struggling with that I can support with? But I guess the biggest thing for me there was asking for help and being a self-advocate is not going to end when you graduate from high school. That's going to have to continue for you in college and even beyond.
Please share about your passion for education and how your work helps local communities.
So you can pull up Pleasant Grove and the zip codes of Pleasant Grove, and you will find that my community almost always falls in the top 3 of any issue that is not necessarily the best for quality of life for people. So for example, graduation rates, voting participation, crime. I mean, things like this are sort of notorious in my neighborhood, and I think one of the reasons why am very passionate about education and this issue is because I am seen now in my community, even at my age, as an outlier, as an exception, when I could truly be an expectation of all students if the systems around our community and our quality of life, like education and transportation and housing and other things, really worked for all people. But focusing on education, I was very fortunate that my experience in Dallas ISD was unique and it was catered to my needs, and I credit that for being the reason why I was able ultimately to go to college and get a degree and do what I'm doing now. But for a lot of students, that's not the case. And so my parents immigrated to this country to give me a shot at a better life, and this country and education correlates with that. And so I have a bachelor's degree now, and I've been out of college for 2 years now, but I started making 2 weeks out of college more money than my parents ever made together, having worked 30 plus years in this country. And so my goal is to provide for myself a quality of life where I don't have to worry about the next paycheck, or is there going to be enough for the rent, is there going to be enough for food, is there going to be enough for other things. I want to be comfortable, and I want my parents to be comfortable. I want to give them the retirement that they quite frankly deserve. And so I know that there's more I want to continue my education. These days a bachelor's degree is awesome, but if you can get a master's or even go further, that can help you a lot in your career, particularly in my field, the field of education. And that's what I intend to do. But we're not going to, we can't transform communities unless we transform our schools and our education. And you have just spent multiple years of your life in school from 8 to 4 or 5 p.m. every day. And so I think schools play a very pivotal role in shaping the adults in our society. And I want to be able to contribute to that process, to having more students graduating with what they want to do and being prepared for what they want to do after they graduate from high school, which is exactly why 6 months after college, when I came back to Dallas, I decided to run for the Dallas ISD school board. And that was a campaign for a first-time candidate. I was the youngest in my campaign. I had no money, didn't have any political experience like that prior to this campaign. But the community heard me, and they acknowledged what it was that I wanted to accomplish or had a vision for. And we won on June 8th of 2019, and I was sworn in on my 23rd birthday as the youngest trustee in Dallas ISD history, but also the first Latina in a school district that is over 70% Latino. So I'm excited to be contributing to things that are important to me, that it will affect very directly my community, but that would have never been possible had I not started as early as high school, with preparing for a college education, and then now for my career. And ultimately, like I said, I still want to keep going, so I'm not done yet.
What is next for you?
Okay, I'll start from where I am now. So I have 2 years left of service in the Dallas ISD School Board for District 4, and haven't necessarily made up my mind if I'm going to run again or not. But I do know that at this point in time in my career, I am interested in pursuing and furthering my education. So to me right now, that's looking like grad school, law school, business school. I haven't made up my mind just yet, but I'm very passionate about this field, and I also want to see what other opportunities may be out there for me. So in the short term, I'm probably going to go back to grad school within the next 5 years. In the long term, I hope to establish myself in a career that I love, in a career that supports me, and by that time, my immediate family, my parents, whatever that may be. And as far as politics, if I'm going to continue in this scope of work, it's very important to have representation. It's very important to be engaged. Ultimately, I think that if the community wants me to stay in a role that represents them and makes decisions on their behalf, then I'd be happy to. It's just with 2020, everything is kind of up in the air, and so I just know that I need more. That I need to get my degrees first, and that's what I'm focusing on.
What is the biggest advice you would give to current high school students?
Something that I would tell myself if I could when I was in high school is seize the opportunity. And I know it's something that you hear very often, or the just do it, but truly, if there is something in front of you that you want to take on, that you feel is for you, you may be shy, or you may be afraid of taking that step. For some of us, like first generation college students, it may be the decision to go to college itself. It may be the decision to go to a college that you really feel is for you, the best fit for you, and your family may be saying something else. And I'm very grateful that when I was in high school, I followed my gut. I followed what I knew it was that I wanted, and it's paid off so much for me in just the few years that I've been out of college now. But as a high school student, you're going to be asked, especially your senior year, to do a lot of things that may feel like are just taking up your time or may feel annoying, but they really matter for you in the long run. Like that admission application deadline, meet the deadline, get your essays in on time, fill out your financial aid form. Like, these are little things that are going to build up to the bigger opportunity that would be made available for you if you stay on track. So don't miss sight of how important those deadlines are for you. And once you're done with high school, then there's of course whatever comes next for you. And so seize the opportunity of whatever is in front of you that you really want to take on. And ultimately, you're the only person that controls whatever happens to you or for you after high school. You build your own opportunities. And I think it's important for us to understand that you are now a young adult, becoming a young adult. And so you are responsible for your future. And I'm hopeful that CFB-ISD has prepared you to take that next step. And if you need support, ask for it. There are tons of people around you that are dedicated literally to support you. So don't be afraid to ask for help and go for it.